Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going, and as I like to remind you each and every day, it expands our base. Czechoslovakia, 1938. Ukraine, 2025. It appears that we are going to see a repeat of history. In 1938, there was a summit meeting in Munich, and 4 powers participated: Germany, Italy, France, and England. And they met and they decided on the future of Czechoslovakia, the infamous Munich Pact of 1938. What it meant was that the people of Czechoslovakia were kept out of the room, and the 4 powers in those days made the decisions and imposed the decisions which ultimately caused the demise of Czechoslovakia and, yes, the Second World War. There are lessons to be learned from what happened in 1938. And this morning, the response of the world, and particularly NATO, to the proposal that Trump and Putin are going to resolve the crisis, well, everyone is afraid that maybe Ukraine will be left out of the equation. It is true that today, J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, will meet with Zelensky, the President of Ukraine. But it's also true that Vance has been opposed to aid to Ukraine. And if you listened yesterday to Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, he made clear, absolutely clear, that the United States believes this war has to end, that the territorial situation should be returned to where it was, and that there will be no continuing aid for Ukraine. I believe that's what he means, and I believe that's what he is telling Zelensky, and I believe Zelensky has a right to be upset. They're even talking about Ukraine having to pay back the money that has come from the United States to the U.S. Treasury. It is astounding. And the Europeans are standing up and they are saying, well, we're going to back Ukraine. We believe in Ukrainian independence because they understand what appeasement means. If you give in to an aggressor, inevitably, well, you face the consequences. It's like trying, as Winston Churchill once said, to appeasing a crocodile. Well, this is a very tough situation because the President of the United States and the President of Russia are going to meet and impose a solution which will clearly not be in Ukraine's interest. I am pointing this out because elections have consequences, and because the people of Ukraine, who this country have supported over the years, and will continue to support in some way, well, it appears maybe that won't happen. I am deeply concerned about what Donald Trump is doing when it comes to Ukraine, and it goes to show you, the President of the United States determines American foreign policy. By the way, it's not just Ukraine. Can you imagine Gaza? Donald Trump is still talking about America taking over Gaza and displacing some 2 million people who live in Gaza. Can you imagine the power of the president and the fear that is running through our allies? I want to make my position clear. If in Gaza, Donald Trump's position is to prevail, we are going to see ramifications that I believe could prove disastrous, not only for the United States, but for the world. And if Ukraine is in fact sold out, then indeed Putin will be emboldened. And if he's emboldened, well, the Ukrainians will just be the first victim. Let's point out Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, Poland. They are all concerned about the renewal of the Russian Empire, and that is Putin's goal. Putin's goal is to recreate Imperial Russia, and with the collaboration of Donald Trump, it appears it's possible. Yesterday, Tulsi Gabbard was confirmed as the National Security Administrator for the administration. And I have to say to you, I'm deeply concerned because Tulsi Gabbard not only will support Donald Trump's policies, but has been a consistent defender of Russia. These are moments of profound concern, and I want to repeat again that elections have consequences, and history teaches us lessons. And make no mistake, what happened in Munich in 1938 is happening now to Ukraine in 2025. And the consequences, well, may be as disastrous as what happened back in 38. These are not random thoughts. All you have to do is turn on the news. All you have to do is hear what our NATO allies are saying. All you have to do is listen carefully to what is happening in the world today. And again, it all boils down to the policies of the President of the United States. And Donald Trump has made clear his position. He believes what we have done in Ukraine is a mistake. He believes that what we've done in Ukraine was a waste of taxpayer dollars. He does not want to see Ukraine join NATO. He wants to appease Vladimir Putin. And by so doing, I believe Donald Trump believes the world will be safer. Let me remind you of the words of Neville Chamberlain, who in 1938 explained to the British people, what is happening there is far away. It doesn't affect us. It has no impact on us. And as a result, just a year later, Europe was plunged into the Second World War. Am I fearful? No. I'm pragmatic. I believe that the lesson of Munich should be repeated and discussed repeatedly. In my library, I have a book recounting the CBS News broadcasts in 1938 as the Munich crisis emerged. Edward R. Murrow, William L. Shirer, some of the best war correspondents in our history recounted what happened. And let me tell you, when you read the transcript of what happened then, you read the potential history of what is happening now. The Czechs were sold out. Appeasement became the order of the day. Let us hope that the Ukraine is not sold out. Let us hope that the Ukraine is able to survive. Now, the Europeans say they're going to support Ukraine, but can they do it without the backing of the United States of America? I don't think so. I think they will crumble as well. These are serious times, and the fate of history, and perhaps the fate of the world, and perhaps the understanding of what appeasement means, needs to be retaught. So I am watching and waiting and observing, and my concern is real. It's genuine. It's not manufactured. Let us hope that Ukraine is able to continue its struggle, and let us hope that the United States is not a party to appeasement, a sellout, and yes, indeed, the betrayal of freedom. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand. Of course, you can respond to me by using LinkedIn, Facebook, and indeed, you can email me or call me, and many of you do. These are perilous times, potentially a repeat of history. And my special thanks to Gogo Zoger, who produces Around the Political World with John Rothman, gets it up and running every single day. I am John Rothman. I will be back tomorrow, and let us see how the political world turns on Around the Political World with John Rothman.